Have you ever wondered, where is Jesus now? Especially during difficult times, we often feel like we're searching for his presence. Whether you're going through a personal challenge or simply want to understand more about his role today, it's a question many of us have asked. But here's the good news. The Bible gives us a clear answer. By the end of this video, you'll discover exactly where Jesus is right now and how his presence can impact your life in ways you might not expect. And if you know someone who loves Jesus and would find this encouraging, share it with them. They might just need this message today. To understand where Jesus is now, we begin with his ascension into heaven. After his resurrection, Jesus spent 40 days appearing to his disciples, offering final teachings and encouragement. Then, in Acts 1:9-11, we witness his ascension. He was taken up before their very eyes, and a cloud hid him from their sight. This marks the moment Jesus physically leaves the earth, but not his involvement with us. Where did he go? The Bible is clear. Jesus is now seated at the right hand of God. In ancient culture, particularly among Jewish and Roman societies, the right hand represented the highest place of honor, authority, and power. This wasn't just a symbolic or ceremonial position. It meant having full access to the king's authority and being entrusted with executing his will. By saying that Jesus is seated at the right hand of God, the Bible tells us that he has been given the ultimate position of authority in heaven and on earth. Ephesians 1:20-21 says that God raised Christ from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly realms, far above all rule and authority, power and dominion, and every name that is invoked, not only in the present age, but also in the one to come. This passage emphasizes that Jesus' authority is greater than any earthly or spiritual power, now and forever. Being seated at God's right hand means that Jesus is not distant or passive. Instead, he is actively reigning over all creation, sovereignly guiding events and working out his plan of redemption. This position of authority signifies his victory over sin, death, and all opposing forces. His authority is absolute. Whether it's over governments, nature, spiritual realms, or the smallest details of your life, Jesus is in control. Historically, the right hand was also the place of a trusted advisor or co-ruler, showing that Jesus shares in the Father's authority. This partnership in ruling the universe reflects the completeness of his mission on earth and the ongoing fulfillment of God's plan through him. The fact that Jesus is seated shows that his work of atonement is finished. He has accomplished all that is necessary for salvation, and now he reigns in victory. For you and me, this means that no matter what challenges we face or how chaotic the world may seem, Jesus is in control. He is fully involved in the world and in your life, reigning with power, wisdom, and love. So, what exactly is Jesus doing now, after his ascension? Let's explore some of the Bible's teachings about where Jesus is and what he is doing today. First, the Bible tells us that Jesus is actively interceding for us. Romans 8:34 says, Christ Jesus, who died, more than that, who was raised to life, is at the right hand of God and is also interceding for us. Intercession means that Jesus is constantly speaking to the Father on your behalf, lifting up your needs, concerns, and struggles. He stands between us and the Father, offering up prayers for our well-being and asking for the strength and grace we need. Just imagine this. Right now, in this very moment, the Son of God is praying for you. That's how profound his care is. In Hebrews 7:25, we read, Therefore he is able to save completely those who come to God through him, because he always lives to intercede for them. Jesus' ongoing intercession is part of how he sustains our salvation. He doesn't leave us to walk through life alone, but continually advocates for us before the Father, ensuring that our faith remains secure and that we receive the support we need. In moments when we feel weak, doubtful, or overwhelmed, we can rejoice in the fact that Jesus is praying for us and securing our relationship with God. One more thing the Bible tells us is that Jesus is preparing a place for us. In John 14:2-3, he promises, My Father's house has many rooms. If that were not so, would I have told you that I am going there to prepare a place for you? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you to be with me, that you also may be where I am. His work in heaven includes making ready a place for each of us in his eternal kingdom. The preparation Jesus speaks of goes beyond a physical location. It's a deeply personal act. He is preparing an eternal home for us, where we will be in his presence forever. This should bring us tremendous hope, because it reminds us that no matter what hardships we face here on earth, something greater awaits us. Jesus has already secured a place for us, and his return will be the culmination of that promise. This is why, as believers, we can live with a sense of anticipation and assurance, knowing that Jesus is working towards our eternal future. Next, the Bible teaches us that Jesus remains the head of the church. Colossians 1:18 tells us, "He is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy." Jesus continues to lead and guide his church, not just as a historical figure that once walked the earth, but as an active living leader. As the head, he directs the mission of the church, empowering believers to carry out God's will on earth. This means that every local church, every believer, and every ministry is under his authority. He provides wisdom, strength, and direction, ensuring the Father's purposes are fulfilled in and through his followers. For us, this is especially important because it reassures us that the church is not reliant on human leaders alone. Jesus, as the head, is the ultimate authority over his people, and he continues to guide and sustain the church through every challenge, controversy, and opportunity. Know that when you participate in the life of the church, whether through worship, service, or fellowship, you are aligning yourself with Jesus' ongoing work in the world. Finally, Jesus is waiting for the time of his return. Hebrews 10:12-13 says, "But when this priest had offered for all time one sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God, and since that time he waits for his enemies to be made his footstool." This verse tells us that while Jesus is reigning in heaven, he is also awaiting the moment when he will return to fully restore creation and bring final judgment. This waiting is not passive. Jesus is actively preparing for the day when he will return in glory and make all things new. For us, this means we live in a time of expectation. The victory has already been won through Jesus' death and resurrection, but the full realization of that victory is still to come. Jesus' return will bring about the complete restoration of the world, and we, as his followers, are called to live in anticipation of that moment. This gives us hope as we face a broken world, knowing that Jesus will one day return to set all things right. In summary, Jesus is not distant or disengaged. He is interceding for us, preparing our eternal home, leading his church, and awaiting the time of his return. These truths should fill us with confidence, knowing that Jesus is deeply involved in our lives and the world. His reign is real, and his love is active, working for our good and for the ultimate redemption of creation. Now that we've seen where Jesus is and what he's doing, how does these truths impact our daily lives? Here are a few practical ways you can live in light of this powerful reality. First, start each day by remembering that Jesus is interceding for you. As you face decisions or challenges, remind yourself that he is actively praying for you and working on your behalf. This will give you confidence and peace, even in the most overwhelming situations. Second, live with hope. Knowing that Jesus is preparing a place for you and that his return is certain gives us the assurance that this life is not the end. When things feel uncertain or difficult, hold on to the fact that he is building something far greater than what we can think or imagine. His plans for you are good, and he is always working behind the scenes. Finally, trust in Jesus' authority. Whether you're struggling with personal challenges or looking at the world around you with concern, remember that Jesus is reigning as king. He has authority over all things, over every circumstance, every leader, every spiritual force, and he is guiding your life with purpose. Rest in his leadership and allow him to direct your steps. So, no matter where you find yourself today, take heart in the fact that Jesus is not distant. You are never alone, no matter what circumstances you may face. When life feels chaotic or overwhelming, remember that Jesus is not only aware of your struggles, but he is actively involved, praying for you, guiding you, and working all things together for your good. Even when you can't see it, he is interceding for you, bringing your needs before the Father and ensuring that everything in your life is under his control. So let this truth be your strength. Whatever comes your way, you can face it with confidence, because the King of Kings is personally invested in your life, walking with you every step of the way, and his love for you is unshakable. If this message has encouraged you today, I encourage you to share it with a friend who might also find comfort in knowing where Jesus is and what he's doing. And if you want to stay connected for more content like this, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us continue spreading this message of hope, and we're really thankful for you being part of this community.